Okay, welcome to If My People Bible Reading. This is part 88, and we're getting into the book of Judges. A number of people called me that have seen this, and let them see it early, and they make some comments. And so I'm going to do this kind of a quick review, then we'll go into what's called the path of redemption because you have your Orthodox Judaism, you have your Messianics, you have your Hebrew roots, you have your Christians, and you have your Christians that go all over the board, all over from like the Mormons who do not believe that Yeshua is the Son of Yahweh. They believe he has a brother named, Hasatan and other. Just it never ends, and they added more books, the Book of Mormon and the Pearl of Great Price. Doesn't the Bible kind of warn against that? And yeah, I think they do. Don't add or subtract from the book. So just I'm asking you to rightfully divide the word. Look at everything. Don't trust anything I say. Check it out. Check it out. So they start off in the Garden of Eden with two actual laws, two Torah laws, and we'll go into that another time. It's interesting how it starts with two and ends with two at the end of time. The Garden of Eden, but there was evil, and then they were forsaken, and they did their way of pleasure, and then they were sold into slavery, and they became slaves, and then they became servitudes, and they went to Egypt, and they stayed there for through the Abraham times all the way to the end, like 400 some odd years, and then they became a family of believers through Moses. We will hear, we'll obey, we want to get married, we want to have the marriage ceremony on Mount Sinai, which was in Arabia. They cried out during this time. They whined, and 40 years they did that. And then they remembered, and then they went back to Joshua and said, we will hear, we will obey. They said it again. They said it to Moses, and they said it to Joshua. Joshua dies, and then when it comes Judges, and just to kind of a prelude of what's about to come with Judges, war leaders, military type time, they're delivered, but they fall. Then they get rid of the judges and they go to prophets. So they get the prophets, and as Yeshua says himself later on in the New Covenant, they killed the prophets. They either killed them by killing them, or they make them run off. So when Elijah is in Elisha times is whining and complaining about, oh, poor me, I'm all by myself and everything, and Yahweh says, hey, I got 5,000 more in the background ready to go. But you don't hear about them in the Bible. That's who you are today. You are a shepherd. You are those 5,000 in the background. Lift your head up. You're doing fine. You're doing fine. So after they get rid of the prophets, what do? They went kings. King David was good king for a while, and Saul before him for a while, and then all the rest of them mostly worthless. Go through all the kings and see what happened to them. Bad news, and it goes downhill until Yeshua returns. But inside of that, for 30 some odd years in the Christian churches, which I sat in many of them. Name a church, I was in there getting saved and getting washed and getting doused and getting baptized about 5 or 6 different ways, going through all their classes, saying yes and no to everything, and getting a little piece of paper saying I'm saved and going to heaven. Okay. Was revivals. And one thing I noticed at all the churches was this, the business of churches. And you know how I rail on this, and I'm not backing off of it because they're wrong, and they're wrong too. And if you're supporting them after being through 87 of my sessions here, and you're still going back to the pig slop, I can't help you, okay? I would say don't watch anything or don't listen to anything more I'm saying. Go back to pig slop and let them take care of you, because we and others can only go so far with people like you. Paul would only say this, Paul would say that, then Paul would shake the dust off his sandals and leave. He's done. You can't spend your entire life with a bunch of people who will always say no. Or even worse, lukewarm. Say yes, and then they don't mean it. Those are worse than the people. For those in prison who may catch a hold of this, you are just as righteous, but you're sitting in prison, as so many are sitting out there judging you because you're sitting in prison, because you know what's going on, and you may have made a big mistake and got caught. After about 50 times you finally go to prison, and there you sit. But so lift your head up too. So we're going to go through this, and I hope I don't mess it up. We're going to click this off, click this on. We're going to go to slideshow, we're going to start at the beginning. And here's what we're saying. Now, this is almost every single church I've been to. Usually October every year, you go into this revival time. And you even see signs on highways in front of churches and on their billboards that say, revival is the following week or day or an hour. Sometimes even more, it's just normally a week or two that they really hit you pretty hard on redemption and the importance of revival. And then they hit you the next month for 4 solid weeks, and then you get your little box of offertory, so you can put your money in the offering, and they get more tithes. So what I'm saying is that's the key. It's the tithes. They want your money to run the business. And we're going to go through that this session or the next one if I can't get it in on what does it really say in the Word in the Bible about tithing and offerings. Okay, so the path to redemption, to revival. Today's institutionalized church leadership push the word revival on their sheep membership normally every fall just before the weeks of sermons on offerings and tithings. Okay. So let's get into it. Is this biblical instruction from Yahweh? If you look at parts and pieces and you do not read the Bible from the beginning to the end, you would end up saying yes. We're saying no. Now, why would we say no? Well, Yahweh is very orderly, and as we have already read numerous times, an example in the book of Job, where we started first, and the Old Covenant Torah books, so it is written in both the Old and the New Covenants. Wait till we get to the New Covenants. You're going to love it. And we remember the R's. Here's the best way to remember what I'm about to show you to make it easier to example to others as you witness bringing the good news to other believers who want to hear and obey and grow in the Word and to build up others. That's what we're supposed to be doing, not going out there saving people and just dragging people off the street. The majority of the world today will never, ever be saved, okay? So if you just drag people off the street and you hit them with a sermon, and you're loud and obnoxious, and you have your predetermined, remembered verses so you can sit there and show off how intelligent you are, remembering what part of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John something comes from, it doesn't work. Trust me, from a person who did it in the past, as a navigator, it doesn't work. All right, so before you revive, what do you need to do? Well, you need to remember what you have left, what was that is no longer in your house. You need to repent, and that means turn away. Correct. Stop sinning. Stop it. You need to remove the sin in your house. An example of that is a big one that Yeshua gives in the New Covenant about cleaning your house out. Clean it out. And in the Old Testament, they use the leaven about every spring where they clean their house out and they remove leaven from their house for a week and they eat unleavened bread. Same author. Number 4, you need to restore truth. So don't leave your house empty. Yahweh says, if you don't, the thief will get back in there again. The person the thing, the idea, the sin will creep back into your house if you leave it empty. Number 5, return. You need to return to the straight and narrow path to the light. So turning means repenting. It's a form of turning from one direction or another, going straight, the narrow path, and the road and the gate is narrow. Number 6, revive. You need to revive yourself and others as a congregation. Revive. Then you can revive. You have to remember, repent, remove, restore, return. Then you can revive. Have you heard any of this in any church ever in your life or in books off the shelf? Do you see them? Do you read it? It's actually in the Word. Number 7, you need to be redeemed. And you need to wait upon Adonai for redemption, being presented before the Redeemer as a perfect bride for him to present to his Father. So that's redemption. Now, to understand that, is to understand this. Um, you are short of cash, you're in trouble. Sometimes things happen financially. It happens to good Christians, and it happens to all people who are even so righteous. It happens, okay? It's okay. And you don't have any friends that depend upon, so, or your work is not there, so you take some items that you probably could live without, and you go to a pawn shop. I've been to a pawn shop. I like Pawn Stars. I like laughing at those guys and Chumley and so forth. And so you pawn something. Now that item belongs to you. And the first thing they say at pawn shop is, do you want to sell it or do you want us to keep it? You want to pawn it. They give you, and what you say as a believer is you want to pawn it. So he says, okay, I'm going to take your item, it belongs to you, and I'm going to put it on this shelf, and I'm going to give you a token, a little pawn. This token has a number on it, and when you come back to this shop to pay in full to get your item back, pay in full plus interest, then it will sit here and I will keep it in this area. It's either locked up or bound or alone or on a shelf, but here it is in the pawn shop. So the guy leaves and comes back, and years later he comes back and he's got the money. And he comes back and he lays down the money and he redeems. He redeems with a pawn. He is the pawn here. See this here? This pawn with a number on it means that this is mine. I want it back. And so the guy at the pawn shop gives it back to the owner. That owner is Yeshua. He's coming back to redeem what was already his, always has been, always will be. And he redeems you. So you are chosen of the Father, predetermined, predestined in life. You're destined. And some people say they are, but they don't walk in the Word, so I'm concerned about them. But for those who are, do you understand what I'm talking about? That is revival. You can't have a message on a sign and 3 months before October, the pastoral committee gets together and say, well, let's pick a week. Yeah, we need to do the monthly, yearly. Oh, we need to do that. And this is what we do. And let's pick this month because after that, one of the elder members say, well, we need to do that because I don't do it before or after because I go hunting. I go hunting and that's what I do every year. It's what I do. So we got to have revival and then make it big and bring in some singers and cymbals and let's make some noise and let's be different than any other time of year and then really get them thinking about how powerful we are and then we'll hit them with the offertory. Yeah, we'll do that. So if that gives you somewhat idea of the truth and you don't you believe it, understand it, that's fine. If you don't, check it out. Check it out to see if what I'm saying is not true, because that is true. But you'll find out that you don't have to believe a thing I say. Listen, I got a few minutes here. It's just interesting about commands. Somebody asked me about that one. How many commands? At the 613, where are they all at? You ever met anyone in Hebrew roots or Messianics who can name them all and follow them? And they actually can point them out in their Bible. Okay, I'll give you, find them right now. They can't. They sit there and they argue back and forth about all the laws that are still in effect, all the ones that are not in effect, and so forth. Adonai, Yahweh, Abba Father, gave us two in the garden. Don't eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And then 10, take care of the garden. And then, I'm going to end it quick. And then 613 laws in the Old Testament here, the Old Covenant. David kind of narrowed down to 11, the 1,050 commands in the New Covenant. And then Yeshua narrowed it back down to 2 again, to love your Father with all your heart, soul, and mind, and love each other. And so that's pretty good. It started off at 2 in the Garden of Eden. And their end is revealed in the beginning. The beginning is revealed in the end, right? There you go again, just like in Isaiah. So we wanted to leave you with that. And everything is wrapped in the word love. Love. Shalom.